In today's video, I'm going to be working on part 2 of my 2-part series building and painting this guy. In my last video, I built it, so today, hey, let's paint it. Hello everybody, here we go again. A little treat for you all tonight. If you can hear any noise in the background, it's the dishwasher. Okay, so we've got the base coat. We're now giving this an all over black wash. In truth, I probably should have just painted it black in the first place and not given it this white highlight, but what are you going to do? Nice good black coat over all this. Try and dull down some of this white. Although the bits and bobs in here do need brightening up, so we'll give them a white dry brush just to pick out some of these highlights. Okay, the white's whites, the black's blacks, there's the Lego at the bottom. Let's get on and start painting this one. The base coat is all done and a few touch-ups here and there, making sure I've got a nice solid undercoat. I can now get on with the main painting, which will be dry brushing and washes, and a bit more dry brushing. Where would we be if we didn't have dry brushing, eh? So here we go, a quick dry brush of silver pretty much over the whole of the model. Catching the edges where we can, you know the drill. Got some more brass metallic now, so just going to highlight some of the edges, the end of the exhausts, and yeah, there, that looks pretty good so far. Bit more brass on the pipes now. These used to be spaghetti in a former life, so they look pretty effective, I think. Give them a coat of black. Once that's dry, we're going to go all over it with a Reichland Flesh Shade wash. This will dull down some of the metal. Got a blue wash now. I want to go at the end of the exhausts. There's a reason for this, I'm not sure why, apart from it looking quite good. But I also think it might be how the fire burns the exhaust or the fumes or something like that. Bit of a green wash now. Again, just a few little dots of it here and there adds a bit of age to the whole process. I do think the dry brush is looking quite effective in all honesty. Bit more green now, in between the pipes, on the ends of stuff. Grime it up as best you can. Nothing wrong with a spare tyre, we've all got one, I certainly have. Let's give these tyres a first dry brush of white. Once that's dry, we'll go over with a slightly brown colour, give it a sort of mud effect. And there's the tyres. Put the buggy to one side and let that dry now, and we can get on with the driver. He or she has already had a Xenophil highlight, so now all it needs is a good base coat. The driver, so he has had a Xenophil highlight, very white, but we need this guy to pop, so we're going to give him a green base coat first. In truth, I need at least 2 coats here because this paint's not really giving me great coverage. Keep that green going. All over his head. Onto his pants. We're not really going to see these, but we'll give him a grey base coat. And on his ass. You can't beat an orc's ass. Not that I've tried. For his armour, we're going to go with a reddish brown colour. I think that's what it would be if it was a skin of some sort of boar or wild pig maybe. There he is, rough base coat done. That'll do. Standard silver, whatever that is. And then I want to give his steering wheel a pink fluffy look. It might not look fluffy, but we can certainly make it pink. A little bit of a wash on this fur. Just needs a bit more depth in it. side note, to go alongside the noise of a dishwasher, there's now some owl outside making a noise. So if you can hear that, well done, you've got a good sound system there. So that's the roughest of rough base coats done for the Ork, and the buggy is now dry. So we'll put the Ork to one side, let that one dry, and crack on with the buggy. Look at me multitasking. Bit of detail work now, so we'll give these skulls a base coat of some sort of skull colour, then onto the red. I want a bit of contrast here, and Orks do use a lot of red colour. So we're just going to dab a very light red wash over some of the pointy bits, technical term. Almost like it was red at one time in its life, and it's had so much use that it's wore off. And when it dries, it looks pretty cool, I think. Pencil, here we go, as a little tip for you. Bit of metallic on the rims of these wheels. Just use a bit of pencil, looks good enough to me. Do you like the personalised number plate there? MD, have a guess what that stands for. Okay, we've got striking scorpion contrast paint here. I put a little dot of white into the headlight to make that bit stand out more. And we're just going to drop in this scorpion contrast, and hopefully it'll look like it's some sort of dull green light. Looks okay. I'm happy. And that's all that matters. Yes, onto his basket of heads and guns and other bits and bobs. We're going to keep this rough and ready, so we're going to hit it with contrasts, greens, blues, and everything else in between. These pieces would have been picked off a battlefield, at least in my story, so they can be dirty, which basically means I haven't got to be too neat. Again, trying to look for contrast here, so we're going for red, greens and blues, all the primaries. And then a sort of dirty brown contrast paint over everything else. Ties it all together. Back with a dry brush now, so we're going to go white over these skulls. They've had a contrast skull paint colour over them. A quick white dry brush over all this stuff in the metal cage. Then we can go back in with the original colours and just give it a bit of highlights, a few layers here and there. Just make these colours pop a little bit more than they already are. Grim dark is the term, I believe. Works for me. We've gone for a wet blend on the blue here. I'd like to say I meant it, but it was more of a happy accident. But watch this. Oosh! When it dries, looks pretty good. Here's me doing a bit of detail work. Look like I know what I'm doing, don't I? Some days, I do. Put out the flags, set off fireworks. The buggy is now done, so we can put that to one side and finish off the Ork. We'll call that one finish, so let's finish this guy. Get a bit of layering done. Let's finish off his steering wheel. Get on, we want this guy painted. So let's pick out the details, raised areas of his skin with a brighter green than the original base coat. Quite a watered down paint here. When it dries, it should blend in theory. The whole buggy so far is pretty dark, so we really want this guy to pop out with the greens and the pinks. Look at that brushwork. Pretty bad. He's looking all right, isn't he? Catch a few of the highlights here. A few reds. Bit of pinks, bit of greens. He looks pretty angry. Here we are back in my painting setup. Look at that R lit up. My name in lights. Or at least a letter. So, was that more cost effective than actually buying one from Games Workshop? Probably not. I mean, it was certainly cheaper, but it probably took me a lot longer to build than it would if I had one at the box. But I did have a lot more fun. And sometimes that's all you need. Let's have a look at the final review.